Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I'm answering viewer questions as part of my 25K Q&A series of videos. And that's to celebrate passing the 25,000 subscriber milestone on this channel. These 4 questions came from you today. We're going to talk about balance between the hands, how to feel your way around the keyboard, syncopation, and polyrhythms. These questions highlight some of the most common frustrations pianists face with rhythm, speed, spatial awareness, and balance. We've got a lot to cover, so let's get started. Our first question has to do with learning how to play without looking down at your hands. This question comes from Murali, who writes, even if you can read music well, it's a struggle to land on the correct keys without looking. This lack of spatial awareness affects fluent playing. Are there any confirmed tips that can help with this other than waiting to accumulate years of experience? This is such a great question, and it's something a lot of people struggle with. So first, let me reassure you that especially at the beginning, it's totally normal to find it hard to play the right notes without looking at your hands. But it doesn't have to take years and years to develop the ability to keep your eyes on the music while you're playing. With intentional practice, you can improve this much faster than you might think. What you're really trying to build is proprioception, your sense of where your body is in space. In this case, it's learning to feel your way around the keyboard without needing your eyes to track every move. So I have a few practical things you can try. First, use the black keys to orient yourself. Try closing your eyes or looking up, and then you find all the F's on the keyboard. So I'm gonna close my eyes and I can find the F because the F is to the left of the group of 3 black keys. So I can find them all over the keyboard by finding this group of 3 black keys, and then so you can do that with all the notes that are adjacent to groups of black keys. You can do that for F and B, which is on the right side of the group of 3 black keys, and C and E. Once you start doing that with both hands up and down the keyboard, you start getting used to reaching each note without looking. Another thing you can do to develop this sense of proprioception is to practice with your eyes closed, playing things that you already know. As you do that, focus on the sensation at your fingertips. How do the keys feel? Over time, your feeling of spatial awareness will improve. Now, another really important thing that will help, think in intervals, not individual notes. This is where music theory can really support you in your technique. So for example, instead of thinking, I'm going to play C, and then I'm going to play F, and then I'm going to play D, instead of that, think C to F is a 4th, and F to D is a 3rd. So you're focusing on the relationship between the notes, and then focus on how that spacing feels under your hand. How does it feel to go up a 4th, and how does it feel to come down a 3rd? Focusing on the interval and the space between the notes is going to help you, because then when you're reading the music, instead of looking at individual notes, you will be focusing on, oh, I'm going up a 2nd, I'm going down a 3rd. Now, I do want to clarify something important about looking down. When we talk about not looking down at your hands, we don't mean that you can never ever look at your hands. It's not a rule. If you have a large jump, like for example, you have a waltz pattern where you're playing, something like that, something like that, you can look down, you can glance at your left hand to find that big jump. That's just smart playing. What we're trying to avoid is the habit of constantly looking down between the music in your hands to find every single note. We want to reduce that dependence on your eyes so that you can really keep your focus on the page. And that does also help with sight reading. So those are my suggestions for how to develop your ability to play without looking at your hands for every note. Our second question is about understanding key speed and balance. Tom asks, in your balance video, you said speed creates louder sound, but elsewhere you mentioned that in fast passages like the 16ths in Rondo alla Turca by Mozart, speed actually reduces force and makes the sound lighter. I'm just a bit confused. Can you clarify? Yes, Tom, this is a really good question. Does playing faster automatically make the sound louder? In my balance video, I talk about how speed of key descent or key speed can increase the sound if more energy is applied, because the faster you put the key down, the faster the hammer hits the string, and therefore the louder the sound is. But in fast passages, like in the 16ths in Rondo alla Turca by Mozart, you often want to play with less force to avoid sounding heavy. And I think the confusion here comes down to how we're using the word speed, because it can mean two very different things when we're talking about playing the piano. Sometimes speed obviously means the tempo of a piece, how fast or slow the music is overall. And other times we're talking about the speed of the key going down, key speed, how quickly you press the key with your finger. Those are two completely different things, although we still use the word speed for both of them. What controls the volume on the piano is the speed of key descent, not the note's value, not the tempo, and not the rhythm. It's purely about how fast the key goes down. The faster you press the key down, the faster the hammer on the other side of the mechanism hits the string, and therefore the louder the sound is, because the piano is a percussion instrument. So a 16th note can be soft or loud. A quarter note can be soft or loud. It all depends on how quickly the key goes down. Now, in the case of Mozart's Rondo alla Turca, you've got fast 16th notes, but because it's so fast, you don't have time to dig into every note. As a result, you end up playing them lighter, more on the surface. That's why they often sound softer, even though they're fast. Because you're playing on the surface of the keys, the hammers are hitting the strings slightly more gently, which is why the sound is lighter. This is really important when you're working on balance between the hands. Let's say your left hand is playing the accompaniment and you want it to stay in the background so the melody can sing out in the right hand. You have to consciously strike the keys more gently in your left hand, while at the same time striking the keys more firmly in the right hand. In other words, your left hand will be putting the keys down more slowly, and the right hand will be putting the keys down more quickly to make the sound relatively louder or softer. Again, this has nothing to do with the tempo of the piece. This has everything to do with how fast the key actually goes down. So again, the key takeaway here is that volume depends on how fast the key goes down, not on the tempo or the rhythm of the piece. By the way, if you're enjoying my videos, I'd like to invite you to sign up for my weekly newsletter, Notes from the Piano Prof. It's a little space each week to geek out over why we love the piano. It's also a chance to get to know me a little better. I share practice tips, behind-the-scenes stories, and little extras that don't make it into these videos. Just scan the QR code on your screen with your camera on your phone, or use the link in the description below to subscribe. It's totally free, and you can unsubscribe anytime. No hard feelings. Now let's talk about rhythm, specifically syncopation. Here's a question from Mike, who writes, I struggle a lot with syncopated rhythms. I worked quite a few months on Alfred's arrangement of Schubert's theme from the Unfinished Symphony. I could get it right while playing slowly, but once up to tempo, it would fall apart. Any suggestions would be greatly appreciated. Why, yes, I do have a few suggestions for you. Syncopated rhythms can be really frustrating because you work hard to learn them and then they seem to just go off the rails as soon as you increase the tempo. So let's start with a quick refresher. What is syncopation? When you play on the beat, there's a natural alignment between the pulse and the melody. That means if I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, so I'm playing on the beat, okay? But with the syncopation, you're playing off the beat. You're deliberately pushing against the natural pull of the rhythm. So in this case, I don't have the Alfred arrangement of this. I know the theme, and so I know that it's syncopated in the accompaniment. So if I play on the beat, I'm going to play. Okay, but the thing is, what we're going to do is we're going to play off the beat in the accompaniment. Instead of playing on the beat, I'm going to play. So it creates a feeling of being more active, even though I'm still playing the same number of notes in the left hand. That's what gives syncopation its energy and drive. It's about that resistance to the beat. Now the problem is, When you learn the rhythm at a slow tempo, you might be reproducing the rhythm correctly, but not actually feeling the syncopation as being off the beat. So when you speed up, there's nothing anchoring that syncopation. So the key to playing syncopation comfortably at a faster tempo is developing a strong internal pulse. If you're not actively feeling the main beat while you play against it, the rhythm will fall apart as soon as you increase the tempo. Here are a few things you can try to strengthen your pulse and feel that syncopation more clearly. You can play the melody in one hand while tapping the offbeats in another. In this case, instead of going, you're going to go, so that I'm feeling the right hand governing the beat, which is the way it works. So the right hand is on the beat, and therefore it has the stronger beats. Now, another thing you can do is straight from doll crows or your rhythmics, you can walk the beat while clapping your subdivisions and singing the melody. So that would be something like bum bum ba da 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 da. So that I'm singing and feeling the main beat and the subdivisions in my body. It's all about internalizing the rhythm and the offbeats and feeling it deeply in your body. When you practice slowly, make sure you're not just playing the rhythm accurately. You need to feel the main beat underneath the rhythm. Imagine the main beat as stronger than the syncopation, because that's what creates that rhythmic tension that makes it so interesting and exciting. Without that sense of tension, syncopation just becomes another rhythmic pattern. But when you really feel the beat and play against it, that's when you'll be able to play faster and maintain that syncopated pattern. Since we've been talking about rhythm, syncopation, and feeling the bigger beat, this is a great time to talk about polyrhythms. Tom asks, how do you play 5 against 6, like in Chopin Etude, Opus 25, number 1? In Chopin's Etude, Opus 25, number 1, most of the notes in each hand line up neatly, but there are moments where one note plays 5 notes while the other plays 6, or one note plays 6 and the other one plays 4. He's talking about the couple spots where we have 5 against 6. That's what we call a polyrhythm. The 5 against 6 moment happens, basically it happens, let's see if I can find it. So we're here, and right here, right? So we have 6 here, and then we have 5. That can be aggravating because you're like, what do I do? Because it goes by so fast. And how do I create that feeling of evenness when I've got suddenly different rhythms in each hand? So here's the thing. When you're faced with a complicated polyrhythm like 5 against 6, you can definitely try to solve it mathematically. You can find what's called the least common multiple, which is 30 in this case because we multiply 5 by 6. And then you can try to map out where each note lands relative to each other. But honestly, that's not the point of something like this. It's not what Chopin had in mind. He did not imagine this as a mathematical formula or mathematically precise. He's creating a texture where the hands are in alignment and then they fall out of alignment, and that's the point. It creates a floating, murky feeling like the sound is drifting on the breeze. And in fact, the nickname for this etude is the Aeolian harp, and an Aeolian harp is a harp that hangs from something, and then the air is what plays it. The wind is what plays it. And so when you've got both hands playing 6 notes, so like at the beginning, you get 6 aligned attacks. But when one hand plays 5 notes and the other hand plays 6 notes, then the attacks no longer align. If this were aligned as 6 notes and 6 notes, it would sound like this. But it's actually, so then we have more attacks. The attacks get staggered, and so that creates a blurry effect, and it kind of just sounds dreamier. Here's how to practice something that has polyrhythms in both hands at a fast tempo without doing the math. First of all, turn on your metronome, and then the method we're going to do is right hand alone, left hand alone, and then hands together. And the point is to learn how each hand plays evenly and try to get that into the muscle memory. Okay, that's right hand, left hand. Okay, and then put it together. and then I'm going to do right hand, then left hand, and then together. Okay, and so you can keep doing it that way, back and forth, in order to get the hands comfortable. You want them to match up at the beat, not note by note between the beat. The important thing is to keep each hand steady and then just let them drift past each other in the middle of the beat. And what you're doing by practicing this way is building muscle memory. Just do that practice, keep alternating right hand, left hand, and then hands together. And I just want to point out, this is an example of where playing a little faster can actually help. At a faster tempo, you'll have that momentum, and then the overlapping rhythms won't be as distracting. I would not recommend like this kind of practice. Well, 2 against 3 is not, but then like trying to figure out how it all lines up. Practice at a slightly faster tempo so you're focusing on the beat and playing evenly between the beat. And you don't want to try to force it to mathematically line up, because that will make the passage sound stiff and mechanical, and like you're doing math in your head, which is not the point at all. What you want here is something fluid and ethereal. We want that atmosphere. So feel the big beat, let each hand move independently, and then line them up on the beat. You can do it. Thank you so much to everyone who submitted a question. As I mentioned earlier, this video is part of my 25K Q&A series, so keep an eye out for the other videos where I answer viewer questions. In this video, we just talked about how to approach polyrhythms, and if you want a deeper dive on that topic, I made a whole video on how to play 4 against 3 rhythms. You can find that by clicking right up there in the corner. So go ahead and click right up there to continue. If you found this video helpful, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and share it with someone else who might enjoy it. I'll see you in the next video. Happy practicing!